In this video, I'm going to go over my install of the Watercock. You can find this online at www.watercock.com. It's designed to go on Bravo 1 drives and allow you to throw a rooster tail similar to what other high-performance boats can do. To do this install, you're going to need a drill with a drill bit and some sockets and wrenches. I used a 7/16 and a 5/8, and then I also optionally used some C-clamps to better hold the watercock on while I was actually doing the drilling of the holes to install it. The first thing you're going to want to do if you have a drive shower is remove it. Mine was simply held on by a 7/16 bolt, and as soon as I removed that, I was able to move the hose up and out of the way. You'll also want to go ahead and remove the propeller because with it installed, you're not going to be able to access all the spots that you're going to want to drill holes. I used C-clamps just to get everything aligned straight and then to make sure that I had a solid surface to drill my holes. One of the things that you'll notice, and this called out in the instructions, is there's a zinc anode underneath the lower unit. You can leave that on, which is what I did, or if you want more of a flush install, you can remove it. Otherwise, it leaves a little bit of a gap. If you have a drive shower, you're going to have to drill a fifth hole, and just keep in mind the placement of that hole relative to the placement of where the bolts will go. In my install, the bolt is actually now holding down the drive shower just based on where my original holes were located for my drive shower install. Just a word of wisdom, I didn't have my drive down all the way, and as a result, a lot of the metal shavings ended up falling into or on the grease for my prop shaft. I was able pretty much to wipe all of this off and then run a hose and just hose everything out to make sure there was no metal bits left, and then I vacuumed them up and applied fresh grease. But you might want to go ahead and cover this with a plastic bag or some other method just to keep all of the metal shavings from getting all over your prop shaft and prop shaft grease. Just as a reminder, your kit comes with anti-seize and Loctite mixture. Be sure to use that and coat the bolts thoroughly before installing them. The kit comes with some support arms which are listed as optional, but I would strongly recommend installing them just to give some more stability, and especially if your boat goes over 60 miles an hour per the instructions. This just gives some additional support and prevents some potential cavitation issues per the instructions. To do this, you're going to have to remove the trim arms. I used a 16 millimeter, or you can use a 5/8 to remove these. You're going to have to remove the plastic caps if you have them, and then do the upper and lower arms, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get the trim ram arms off. Once all the bolts are removed, you can basically use something. I used a piece of wood to gently pry the arms off. You need to be careful though, because once both of the arms are off, the drive will fall to the ground. But essentially what you want to do, and is shown here in this picture, is take the rubber grommet off and remove that thin washer. It's going to be present on both sides. Once you have the arms installed, what you'll want to do is line them up to the drive and then drill a hole where they meet and go ahead and secure them. Don't forget to use the anti-seize here as well. One little trick with the trim arms to get them back on once the watercock is installed is you can just stick your hand inside of it and just lift it up. And if you get the drive lifted higher, then you'll be able to easily slide everything back on. Otherwise, you're fighting the tension of those arms. And even with a lot of pressure or ratchet straps, you're going to really struggle. So really the easiest thing to do is to lift that from the back and just go ahead and slide everything together. It'll take you less than 30 seconds that way. Once everything's installed, you're pretty much ready to do your lake test. On my 502 with the Bravo 1, I was running a 3-blade 23 pitch prop. You can sort of tell when you trim down, there's a bit of, especially when you're slowing down, there's a little bit of a clunk or slow down with this watercock install on there. You really won't see much of a rooster tail unless you really start to trim up. The more you trim, it seems the more prevalent it is. But I think there's a certain point of diminishing return. I've got a couple photos here of kind of what it looked like when I was running about 4,000 RPM, which is not wide open for my setup, but seemed to produce pretty good results. And I also will put a quick video here that I also have posted showing kind of what it looked like going across the water. You can't really tell from looking out at the back, and especially in the photos, but you end up getting a rooster tail that's fairly tall and fairly long. I would estimate it to be at least 20 foot tall and at least, 100 foot long or something like that. But otherwise, I don't really notice a whole lot of change in the drive dynamics performance side from that lower speed when I trim down, and maybe a little bit of loss of top end speed, but otherwise, no real noticeable difference except for the looks that you get when you're cruising across the water throwing a huge rooster tail. Hope that helps.